Jasper stalls, forecast still uncertain. Cyclone Jasper has retained most of its intensity from our last update, but has weakened just a little bit, is now still a strong Category 3 on the Saffir Simpson scale. That's still Category 4 on the Australian scale. 15.1 south, 156.7 degrees east as of 10 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time this December 8th. So winds of 125 miles per hour, that's 200 kilometers per hour sustained, with a pressure of 946 millibars, moving south-southwest at 4 miles per hour or 7 kilometers per hour. So moving slowly, and I would say it's probably stalling a little bit before it will turn probably more towards the west in the next 24 hours. The wind field has grown up to 155 nautical miles on the southeastern quadrant, so really substantial wind field there extending beyond 200 kilometers. It is 728 kilometers from Willis Island, 1037 from Mackay, 1044 from Bowen, 1144 from Townsville, and 1185 from Cairns. The ironic part about that is that the last place on that list is the most likely to get hit by the storm on day 4 or 5. So Category 3 on the Saffir Simpson scale, no warnings for Australia at this point, but we do expect that they'll probably be issued over the weekend. Let's take a look at the primary hazards. We are increasing in confidence about Jasper's area of primary impacts in and around Cairns and extending inland, with rainfall of over 500 millimeters possible, affecting many areas, leading to dangerous flash flooding. Wind impacts remain very uncertain at this stage, but the threat is increasing, and we'll take a look at that on the model section in just a couple of moments. So the forecast expectation then over the next few days looks like this. We've taken a blend of the ensembles, and they are getting quite split into what happens later on in the forecast period. So we do have creeping uncertainty over what happens near Cairns, whether it moves further north there, it looks like it does, whether it stalls along the coast, or whether it continues inland through the Cape York Peninsula and into the Gulf of Carpentaria. Well, looking at maximum sustained winds on that scale down there, decent agreement over what all of the agencies are saying. The Bureau of Meteorology just slightly lower, JTWC is with our estimate right now, and the satellite estimates, the ADT, NOAA looks like it's in line, but SSEC appears to be still out on a limb near 140 miles per hour. And this is the JTWC forecast cone a little bit earlier on, forecasting the storm to continue that turn towards the west and maintain hurricane equivalent status all the way up until its potential landfall near Cairns on day 5 there. JTWC have that wind speed up to 85 miles per hour by the time we get to that landfall, which is about 140 kilometers per hour. This is the GFS forecast, and you can see it does follow the JTWC quite closely, weakens quite a bit, and then moves on towards the northwest and gets very close to Cairns before stalling quite a bit and then eventually tracking further inland. Now, the biggest concern about this forecast here is that stalling motion offshore would mean that the storm has significantly more time to intensify, and it does there. That's probably a Category 2 landfall on the Saffir Simpson scale, Category 3 on the Australian scale at least. So that's interesting to see that creeping in. Certainly a much stronger landfall than originally expected if that scenario does occur, but the agencies haven't picked up on that yet, and it really is a wait and see. So there it is, really high rain rates on that reflectivity simulation as it parades through the Cape York Peninsula, and eventually on that GFS model it does make it into the Gulf of Carpentaria and actually might reform or redevelop as it ends up moving towards the top end. So there it is once again, making landfall with very high rain rates, particularly on the southern side, and that's what we're going to be most concerned about throughout the entirety of this storm. The wind field will be larger on the south side as well, so the strongest and widest range of winds will be on the southern side of the storm's centre. So this is the rainfall expectations as we zoom in on the Cairns region and we look at very high amounts of rainfall. This is an increase on the previous model run, up to 31 inches there. That's nearly 800 millimeters, and inland still getting quite a bit there as well. Mareeba and Atherton, places like that, could receive up to 500 millimeters too, and obviously the mountains in that area and the hills could obviously lead to very much flash flooding rolling down there towards the coast. Temperatures in the general vicinity are decent. This is a little bit, the model projection has it a little bit on the low side. It'll be a little bit warmer than this. Temperatures at least 26 degrees Celsius all the way up until landfall, getting up to 27, maybe a spot of 28 as it gets towards the very near coastline near Cairns. But temperatures are looking decent for certainly sustenance of this storm and possible re-intensification later on down the line. So let's take a look at the satellite imagery then. This is how it's been looking. It's obviously not as good as it was looking on the visible imagery earlier today. This morning it was looking pretty impeccable. The eye has somewhat disappeared, but it's still trying to reappear on this infrared imagery rapid scan from Himawari 9. And you can see those cloud tops are very deep on the south and southwestern side there, extending well into the minus 80s degrees Celsius. Now there's the wide shot of Australia, which we tried to convey at the beginning here, showing the storm's stature compared to the enormous landmass of Australia. But still, this storm is quite large in its own right, pretty decent, growing wind field. We just got a little bit of a glitch on that imagery. This is the Force 13 website, and you can access that live, force13.com/satellite, as well as our live tracker, which is on the Force 13 YouTube channel right now, and that will be running all the way through this storm's life. But certainly signs that it may be possibly holding on to that intensity as it starts to turn towards the west.